after a disastrous opening round at North Carolina for the both of them, Flair Motorsports teammates Alex Carson and rookie Joshua Pacer swept the front row for the San Antonio Siege 200, taking place the day after the FARC race here. Carson and Pacer, both former FARC competitors, would remain 1-2 after the opening lap, but Pacer would soon fall back, and the battle for second would be between ASCC veterans Palmer Styles and Jason Richardson. Richardson finished in the runner-up spot last week, while Styles is trying to move on from going upside down, and as they come up on the lapped car of Bobby Miller III, Richardson gives way and Styles takes the spot. We've gone green for the first 20 laps so far, and Alex Carson has already lapped everybody up to 16th place Greg Gray in the Ken Grove 78 car. But he's far from done as he swings around the outside of Dan Richards, the 2012 champion in the Team Thunder number 7. Team Thunder is brand new to the series this year as part of their massive expansion, but Richards has already gotten them a top 5. As Jason Richardson has cut a tire down, he'll have to bail for the pit lane on lap 22. Aaron Law, last week's pole sitter, also cut a tire down. Both of those cars are part of the Team SAR USA stable, and I wonder if they're running a very aggressive front downforce setup that's causing them to cut down their tires. Carl Hampton, the rookie, in their third car, has got to be nervous. Joshua Pacer has settled into third place, but he gets together with the lapped cars of Tim Woodard and Porter House and goes straight into the end of that pit wall. That wall's a big safety concern at this track. Megan Gallagher hit that wall in the FARC race yesterday, but we're not done wrecking as Colton Spencer and Jason Richardson pile in, as well as Calvin Hobbs, Carl Hampton, Cam Barnes in that 50 car. A big pileup puts us under caution for the first time today. However, the officials opened up the pit lane way too early, well before the field got bunched up. So all but 3 cars have now gone a lap down, and the officials said they're not going to do anything about it. So the only cars on the lead lap are now Palmer Styles in the lead, but he's about to lose that to Stefan Wlodarczyk. Alex Carson was sent back to third, and now Wlodarczyk is up front, the second-generation driver, coming off of his first win in his first start. Meanwhile, Jim Hayes had the 5th spot. Aaron Singer wanted it enough to just drive right through him. Singer qualified 5th and got shuffled up into the top 10 in all of the craziness under the first yellow. And Jim Hayes in the second Team Thunder car can't be too thrilled about that. After the restart, Alex Carson gets caught in Donnie Olson and Brett Finley's mess, and another pileup ensues on the backstretch. That's the 78 of Greg Gray that's gone around. Dan Boyles and Bill Calhoun in the 31 are also involved, as well as Richie Pinto in one of the expansion motorsports cars. There's Carson getting away from this, still in third place without too much damage. Aaron Law has steadily made his way up to 17th, but Dan Richards and Austin Sanders get together, sending him around. And yet another pileup ensues going into turn 3. Brett Finley and Donnie Olson are involved again. That's going to take the 2 of them out. And you saw Elmer Farley in the 0, the Inglesby points leader, surprisingly enough, coming into this race, also involved. The 15-point military and law enforcement veteran bonus did him a lot of good after Rockingham to put him up into the Inglesby lead. But after the restart, Palmer Styles, in what is honestly and unfortunately one of the only competitive Inglesbys left in the field, wrestles the lead away from Stefan Wlodarczyk, and it looks like there's some damage to the hood of the 37. He may have had some contact with a lapped car under yellow, and that's probably hurting him, but Styles is taking advantage, and he will clear Wlodarczyk for the lead, but not quite. Wlodarczyk's got a little momentum around the outside going into 3, but Styles will lead at the line as Wlodarczyk finally drops back and settles in behind the 21. Alex Carson, the pole sitter, still has some speed after getting caught in that pileup, and he's chasing down the 37. These are still the only 3 cars on the lead lap. Nobody has gotten around to get their lap back yet. And with Styles having the fastest car on the track right now, I don't think it's likely we'll see anybody else joining the lead lap anytime soon. The first car off of the lead lap is Dan Richards in the number 7, sitting in 4th place, and everybody behind him is at least 3 laps down, so Richards has a very big cushion to work with. And as I said earlier, Team Thunder, fielding the 7 and the 77, are new to the ASCC. It's part of the team's recent expansion into this series and into the TM Master Cup Series. Richards is sitting in a good spot right now, but on lap 138, Palmer Styles is going to kick off green flag pit stops. Alex Carson and Stefan Wlodarczyk will follow him in, but soon afterwards, Styles is going to get into the lapped car of Seth Anderson, sending him up the track and into traffic. Lance Stone, Peter Johnson, and Austin Sanders all pile in. That was a bigger wreck than it probably should have been, and Aaron Singer joins in for good measure. But an uncharacteristic rookie mistake from Palmer Styles is going to erase his own lead, but Alex Carson definitely doesn't get the jump that he needs, and Stefan Wlodarczyk is going to cruise around his outside to take second place back. And another quick restart for a spin by Angus Blackwood put Wlodarczyk in a position to chase after Palmer Styles, but that's contact between Dan Richards and Richie Pinto, and Wlodarczyk is caught in the middle of another big one. Austin Sanders in the 07 also took very heavy damage, and he's going to go out of the race. Wlodarczyk had finally gotten that car fixed and was in a great position to challenge for the lead, only to be caught up in somebody else's mess. And after the restart, Aaron Singer pushes up into Ryan Long. Wlodarczyk goes head-on into that pit wall and tumbling down the track. Wlodarczyk would climb out after this scary wreck, but what a miserable turn of events for the Rockingham winner. Meanwhile, this leaves only 7 cars on the track, and Palmer Styles would dominate the final stint of the race to take his first win of the season. Alex Carson would finish second as the only other car on the lead lap. Heading east to the Middle Georgia Motor Speedway for the Freeze Peach 200, the top 2 finishing order at San Antonio was exactly the same, with Palmer Styles following up perfectly on his win, but Alex Carson falls back after starting second. Stefan Wlodarczyk, trying to put that big crash behind him, sits right on Styles' tail. Aaron Law in the 25 settles into third after the first lap. But also on the opening lap, Angus Black in one of the What's Your Beef cars had contact with Donnie Olson and backed into the inside wall, but the caution did not fly for him. However, he still has a little bit of speed in that car as he quickly catches up to Elmer Farley and Bobby Miller III. Tim Woodard would be the next car to have some problems as he slows down dramatically on the front stretch, limping his way back to the pits, only to come out and make contact with Porterhouse and the other What's Your Beef cars to go around on the front stretch, taking Dan Voiles and Stefan Wlodarczyk with him. Calvin Hobbs gets into the side of the 22 and puts him onto his roof. And Tim Woodard will go out of the race after everything goes wrong for him in the first 30 laps. Palmer Styles was caught and passed by Alex Carson during that run, but on his way to the pits, the engine goes on the 21. Momentum is definitely not on Palmer Styles' side, as he will face 2 DNFs in the first 3 races of the year. Already, this will leave 7 cars on the lead lap for the restart. Styles and Alex Carson, again, made very quick work of the back markers in that first stint. Carson leads with Jason Richardson behind him, but it looks like Alex Carson is going to let his teammate Joshua Pacer go to get back onto the lead lap in 8th place. But then Carson seems to change his mind and put his teammate back a lap down at a pretty inconvenient time, as we've now got another yellow for a fender bender. Cam Barnes in the number 50 Lucas Oil Sar is going to take his car to the garage, and he will never come back out onto the track despite his family team spending a lot of time trying to get the car running again. After the restart, Peter Johnson washes up into Lance Stone in the 97 and sets off Another small pile-up on the backstretch. Aaron Singer and Elmer Farley get involved. Farley had that blue car of his damaged in the first round and just got it fixed. Meanwhile, Joshua Pacer got back around Carson to finally get back onto the lead lap, and I think he showed his teammate he was number 1 as he went by. Carl Hampton, the rookie for Team Star USA, is going to put Winston Orwell into the wall after the restart and lose that spot to his teammate Jason Richardson. Carl Hampton has been qualifying very well in his rookie season so far, but he fell out early in both of the opening rounds and nearly did the same here. And Orwell's going to get himself into more trouble as he gets squeezed in between Porter House and Jeff Little and goes hard into that inside wall. The transition from road racing to ovals has not gone well for Winston Orwell so far. Alex Carson restarted in the lead once again after another round of pit stops, but Jason Richardson has found a lot of speed and he gets by the Incel Batteries Lennard pretty easily. But we're going to get another quick yellow as Joshua Pacer, trying to make his way through the field, sends Seth Anderson in the 51 around, and several more cars are going to pile in. Donnie Olson, Austin Sanders once again, and Elmer Farley gets that number 0 car totaled. Johnson Clapham, the number 69 J.D. McDermott car, is up to 3rd after the restart. Alex Carson fell back, but he's trying to recover some of those spots. Clapp, who is now the leading Inglesby, came onto this team last year after racking up some very impressive stats in the FARC ranks with limited starts. He nearly won at Talladega last year, but so far in this new season, he hasn't made it halfway through a race until today. But Aaron Law is going to get by Johnson Clapp, and now he'll come after Alex Carson for 3rd place, and that's going to make it a Team Star USA 1-2-3 with Richardson in the lead and Carl Hampton in 2nd. But Law, the Texas 500 winner from last year, is not going to be content with 3rd as he will eventually catch and challenge Carl Hampton for 2nd. I can't help but wonder if the team is a little nervous about these guys racing each other, as nothing has gone right for them so far other than Jason Richardson's runner-up finish in the opener. Speaking of Richardson, he is now about to put the guy he finished 2nd to, Stefan Wlodarczyk, a lap down. Richardson has dominated this stint so far, lapping everybody up to 6th place. But this green flag run's going to come to an end as the lapped cars of Ryan Long and Paul Sherman get together. Alex Carson and Carl Hampton just barely squeak by, but Richie Pinto in the 30 is not so lucky as he went spinning as well. After another round of pit stops, Jason Richardson continues to lead, but whatever advantage he had, he seems to have lost as Aaron Law is going to challenge him for the lead. Alex Carson got back around Carl Hampton to take 3rd, but challenging for 2nd now as Richardson is stuck around the outside. Aaron Singer in the 11 is off the lead lap and in Richardson's way. Richardson's really falling back now as Carl Hampton and Joshua Pacer now get by him. Pacer has recovered nicely after falling a lap down earlier. Meanwhile, Jason Richardson is back to 5th, the last car on the lead lap. Aaron Law continues to lead, but he's now caught the lapped cars of Paul Sherman and Ryan Long, who can't seem to get away from each other. But that opens up the door for Alex Carson, who gets to the inside, and it looks like he's going to use the 88 as a pick to get by the 25. Alex Carson will now take the lead. Coming to 35 laps to go, Aaron Law just made the wrong move around these lapped cars and let Carson get by him. And Alex Carson will not look back, pulling away from Aaron Law. He comes off of turn 4 and will take the Freeze Peach 200. Moving on to the Music City 200 in Nashville, Palmer Styles takes his 2nd pole in a row, and with outside pole sitter Jason Richardson falling back, Alex Carson will move into the second spot, but not for long. He's going to be challenged by Joshua Pacer in the 9. Aaron Law in the 25 follows him for third. And it only took a couple more laps for Pacer to catch the 21, and he's going to get by him pretty easily. The cookout SAR of Bill Calhoun is going to get cooked in the opening laps. Calhoun will be the first car to drop out of the race. Peter Johnson in the 44 for Expansion Motorsports will also go out of the race a couple laps later. Lapped traffic will come into play before lap 20. Aaron Law took advantage of some back markers to get around Joshua Pacer, but as we catch this group of cars now, Pacer will take the lead back, and Palmer Styles is going to follow him into second. Dan Richards in the bright yellow 7 car will now take third as Aaron Law gets stuck and loses a ton of ground. He's got to be having flashbacks to Middle Georgia right now, but thankfully this is early in the race. But we're going to have our first caution coming to lap 20 as Jason Richardson gets turned around by Calvin Hobbs while defending the 8th spot. Calvin Hobbs was having a pretty good run so far, but Jason Richardson is going to keep going with a lot of damage to that back end. On lap 45, Angus Black will be the next driver struck by the Gremlins as he will drop out of the race. On lap 60, Joshua Pacer continues to lead, but Aaron Law in the 25 is about to go a lap down. He's really lost a lot of speed in that car, but he's not making it easy for Pacer as Palmer Styles and Alex Carson have caught up to the 9. But passing seems to be kind of tough right now as nobody is able to get a good run. Pacer finally gets around Aaron Law a few laps later, but he can't seem to shake Palmer Styles and his teammate Alex Carson as they now come up on the 5 of Ryan Long. Pacer dives it in there to prevent him from taking his line away, and there was a little bit of contact between those two, but no harm done. And now we've got a couple more lapped cars in the way. Donnie Olson in the number 1 for Gulf Motorsports and Seth Anderson in his own 51 car. They dispatch Anderson pretty easily, and it looks like Donnie Olson is going to let them go as well. Tim Woodard is going to go up in smoke after making his way up to 14th. That's a pretty good run by his standards, but it's all going to come to an end with his 4th DNF in the first 4 races. The lapped cars of Jeff Little and Dan Voiles are going too wide, but Voiles is a lot slower than Little. Palmer Styles follows Jeff Little and takes the lead, and Joshua Pacer is just not having any of that and dumps the 82 car. That's going to bring out our second caution of the night on lap 77. But strangely enough, Joshua Pacer, along with Colton Spencer and Johnson Clapp, only took fuel during that round of pit stops. It seems like those three don't think that there's enough tire fall off to make it worth changing them, and so they leapfrogged everybody else. And Pacer's off to a pretty good start on those old tires, pulling away and putting a couple lapped cars in between himself and everybody else. But Johnson Clapp, on the other hand, is definitely holding people up. The decision to not take tires could have been a desperation move for the JD McDermott team, as they really need something to go right in these first few rounds. They did end up falling out at Middle Georgia with engine problems, but right now they're just holding people up and costing them spots. Aaron Law is going to squeeze Cam Barnes and Winston Orwell into the wall, taking his teammate Jason Richardson with them. I wonder if he wasn't told he was 3 wide by his spotter, but that's going to bring out another yellow. This time around, Joshua Pacer, Johnson Clapp, and Colton Spencer all pitted for fresh tires. This is going to put Carl Hampton in the lead for the first time in his ASCC career. Stefan Wodarczyk will cycle through to second. Strangely enough, he hasn't been anywhere near the front all night until now. At the halfway point, Richie Pinto is going to bring the number 30 into the pits and make it a double DNF for Expansion Motorsports, and Aaron Law will drop out of the race as well. That's going to be his 3rd retirement in the first 4 races. And then he's going to be followed by Johnson Clapp, who drops out for the 4th race in a row. What an absolutely frustrating start to this season for several of these teams. On lap 127, Palmer Styles is going to bring his car into the pits for what appears to be a routine pit stop, but this is going to be very, very early compared to everybody else on the lead lap. Carl Hampton really stretched out his lead during this run, but he's going to get stuck behind Bobby Miller, who's been a huge nuisance today, and that's going to allow Alex Carson and Stefan Wlodarczyk to catch him, and that's going to be the end of Carl Hampton's time in the lead, as Wlodarczyk is right on the 99's tail. Jason Richardson hits the pit lane on lap 149. He's still running in 7th despite all that damage he's got. Carl Hampton did take the lead back, but he and Alex Carson are going to pit on lap 154. Stefan Wlodarczyk goes around and will stay out to take the lead. Wlodarczyk and Pacer would pit within the next few laps, and the very last holdout would be Colton Spencer, the rookie in the number 13 car. He is easily having his best run so far, and when everything cycles out, Carl Hampton is back in the lead with Wlodarczyk and Pacer in pursuit. But the leaders are going to get bunched up again as Elmer Farley bounces off of Palmer Styles and takes Jim Hayes with him. Elmer Farley, the oldest driver in the series and the only driver still competing from ASCC's original run in the 1970s, was having a pretty good run by his standards. Under this caution, Carl Hampton is going to have to pit from the lead. He was reporting a bad vibration after pit stops. A loose lug nut turned out to be the culprit, and under the following caution for a spin by Lance Stone, Stefan Wlodarczyk would blow up after inheriting the lead. Wlodarczyk has just been plagued by crashes and all sorts of problems after winning in his first start. He'd probably easily be leading the Lennard standings without all these problems, but this is going to put Joshua Pacer back in the lead. And Pacer takes the white flag without any sort of opposition so far. With all sorts of young, funded drivers coming into the sport, Joshua Pacer is very much a talent-first acquisition by Flair Motorsports, and their faith in him will be rewarded as Pacer takes his first career win, giving Flair Motorsports their second victory in a row.